As we move upriver, past the 11th Street Bridge, we are nearing the unofficial dividing line between the lower Anacostia and the upper Anacostia. The CSX railroad bridge that crosses the river serves as this dividing line, separating the more developed lower Anacostia from the less developed upper Anacostia, where less of the city can be seen and the river takes on a much more natural setting. As we move under and past the 11th Street Bridge, we come upon Boathouse Row, a stretch of the river housing some of the oldest marinas and boathouses in the district. On the west bank of the river, as we move upriver, we first see Eastern Powerboat Club, established in the early 1900s, then District Yacht Club, and then Washington Yacht Club. What's interesting about Washington Yacht Club is that the stories tell that on this stretch of the river, Washington Yacht Club, in its earliest form, used to have ferry services to either side of the river, helping folks move daily from the east bank to the west bank and back again. These boathouses are still active and some of the few places on the Anacostia where you can still store a boat for boating and leisure to move about the Anacostia and the Potomac. Just before Boathouse Row, on the west bank of the river, lies the old site of a Washington coal gas plant that used to provide heating and lighting gas for much of the southeast area of DC. Unfortunately, this plant produced an abundance of environmentally harmful pollutants and potentially toxic chemicals that are currently being investigated today under the Anacostia River Sediment Project. This plant is no longer active and was demolished in 1986. However, the site along the riverbank is still used by the Army Corps of Engineers to house their small fleet of specialized boats. These boats helped patrol the lower portions of the Anacostia and clear the river of any large trees or debris that can wash downstream or be brought into the river from the Potomac and high tides. If you take a stroll along the Anacostia Riverwalk Trail or come to visit the river, you may see yellow boats that kind of look like floating forklifts carrying large trees from the river, as this is one of the main jobs for the Army Corps of Engineers, is to help clear navigable waters and keep them navigable for boat traffic. Now if you look on the east bank of the river, towards Anacostia, you'll start to notice a pedestrian trail, sports fields, a giant pirate ship playground, and a large open-air skating rink. This is Anacostia Park. Along with Rock Creek Park, Anacostia Park is one of the largest park spaces and national parks in the district. In fact, Anacostia Park is even bigger than Central Park in New York City, as it runs almost the whole length of the Anacostia in DC, from Poplar Point all the way to around Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens near the DC-Maryland border. Now, first thing you may notice about the park is how flat it is, almost suspiciously flat. There's only one animal on planet Earth that loves things this flat. That is the human being. The park is flat because it is man-made. Anacostia Park actually used to contain broad stretches of wetlands that ended in large riverside cliffs and bluffs that you may expect to see on the Potomac or the Bay, but you can actually see the old remnants of these high points in the high hills that lie just to the east of the river and actually mark the eastern extent of the Anacostia watershed in the district. Now, when we say this is Anacostia Park, we really mean it, as the park was made with dredged sediments from the river itself. Actual river bottom sediments are what make up Anacostia Park. The park was built in stages in the early 1900s, with the first construction starting around 1908, making Anacostia Park over 100 years old, a full century. It was modeled after East Potomac Park and was meant to fill in what were thought of as malaria-producing swamps, as we didn't know the many benefits that wetlands actually provide to both the river and the ecosystems surrounding it. Today, Anacostia Park is home to many attractions and services like the Anacostia Riverwalk Trail, fields and playgrounds, and one of the only open-air skating pavilions around. It is also home to the Aquatic Resources Education Center, which is managed by the staff from the District Department of Energy Environment. The AREC, as it's known, serves as an interactive natural and environmental museum and nature center for the river, where visitors and schools can come to learn more about the Anacostia itself, its ecosystems, and even see firsthand some of the wildlife that inhabit the river and its shores. If you're at Anacostia Park and look across the river, you may also see blue boats with what looks like conveyor belts patrolling the river. These boats are specially designed boats employed by DC Water to clean up and remove floatable trash from this lower portion of the river. Due to its urban and developed nature, the Anacostia River has an unfortunate issue with trash, as many have noted while spending time on the river. In fact, the Anacostia is one of the few rivers in the United States with what's called a total maximum daily load, or TMDL, for trash. This is essentially a pollution diet, meaning that Maryland and the District of Columbia are required to remove a certain amount of trash from the river each year. This is accomplished in a few ways. From on-land trash cleanups that we at Anacostia Riverkeeper run, to trash traps installed on the river, to these DC water boats. These boats run year-round and help to clean a lot of the floating trash that has come downriver to the lower portion of the Anacostia. Once a boat has circulated on a daily trash run, it returns to shore where the trash can be disposed of appropriately. Much like its cousin, Mr. Trash Wheel up in Baltimore's Inner Harbor, our Anacostia boats also have names, Flotsam and Jetsam. On average, these two boats will remove almost 400 tons of trash from the Anacostia each year. As we move past the Pennsylvania Avenue Bridge, or the John Philip Sousa Bridge as it's also called, we come to the final stretch of the lower Anacostia. On the east side of the river is still Anacostia Park, but also one of the few points on the river where you can actually put a boat in the water. Anacostia Park has one of the only docks and boat ramps on the Anacostia, and is the only one on the east side of the river. With equitable river access being a vital quality of an inclusive Anacostia, more access points like this on the east bank of the river are much, much needed. On the west bank of the river are the Anacostia Community Boathouse and Seafarers Yacht Club. Anacostia Community Boathouse is the hub of watercraft recreation on the Anacostia, serving as the home to many crew teams, but also providing opportunities for DC residents and visitors to row themselves and even explore other clubs and craft like dragon boats or even outrigger canoes. Now, Seafarers Yacht Club is especially important to the Anacostia and DC history in general, as it was the first black yacht club in the United States. Organized by Lewis T. Green, a DC teacher and boat builder, he was looking for a place around the district to store his boat, but found no place that was available for the district's black residents. First, being mostly ignored by the Department of the Interior, it took the efforts of local leader Mary McLeod Bethune and assistance from First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt to make Seafarers Yacht Club, first known as Seafarers Boat Club, a permanent fixture on the Anacostia in 1945 and the United States' first black-owned and operated yacht club.